So welcome to my session. In this particular session, I'll be talking about scope and lifetime. The scope and lifetime is a very important concept, and especially during the time of interview, there is a typical question comes from scope, lifetime, and also from the storage class. So I will be first discussing about in this video session regarding scope and lifetime, and then I it will followed by the storage class itself. Okay. So what do you understand by scope and what we understand by lifetime? Okay. Yes, when you talk about scope, it is said the area or the region, okay, of the code where variable function is available to use. Okay, so if I have certain function, if I have certain variable, okay, and which particular area the code is there is available, okay, that will be called as nothing but its scope. Yes, and lifetime talks about the time for which this particular variable or function is being stored in the computer memory. Okay, to make you understand, yes, so to make you understand, let us go to this particular program. Okay, so you see I have declared one function here, okay, f name, and you see I have two function, main and f name. Okay, so you can understand the entire scope of this main is here itself. Okay, and the entire scope of the function here is okay. Now if I talk about variable num, okay, so the area in which particular it has been defined, it is here only. So the scope of num is inside the main, and the scope of int and num is inside the fnum. Say for example, if I write here, okay, simply I write here printf, okay, percentage d, okay, I, what will going to happen, can you tell me? If I write like this, okay, and simple, okay, let me save it, let me execute it. See, I is not declared in this scope, right? I is not been mentioned in this scope, right? But here I is mentioned, there is no error coming up, but here it is coming because I have not never mentioned I in the main function. Okay, that this I scope is within this function f name sum. Similarly, sum is will be also like that. If I write here sum, okay, if I write sum and I execute, see, same it is coming up. Okay, right? You can see error, sum is not declared in this particular scope, right? Similarly, if I write this printf statement not here and here, okay, and I say this is nothing but num, okay, save it. Again it will say num is not declared in this scope. This scope means inside this function. That means if I talked about scope, okay, the entire this function scope here, okay, and entire what you say is function scope is here, and the variable num, okay, has a scope in this main function, and variable I and sum has this scope inside this. Okay, so let me save. Okay, let me now execute it. See, I got the answer 36. Okay, so I got the answer 36, right? Okay, now let me again call this function. Okay, let me again call this function. Save it. Let me again execute. What I get? 36? 36. Why I have not got 72? Previously it was 36, right? Then again, why 36? Because the variable lifetime, that is memory, right? Once this function has been over, this I and sum, all this variable will be removed. It will not be in the in this memory. So next time, whenever I'm calling this particular function again I is declared, okay, initialized. Again, memory location has been given. Sum is equal to 0. Again, this function is executed and we got it as 36. Okay, so now you've understood what exactly we understand by scope and lifetime. Yes, so scope talk about the reason where the code is available, whether the variable function, and the lifetime whether it is available in the memory. So you have seen, right, in the main function, num is there. Okay, sorry, and when I talk about I and sum, two-time a function call, the answer is given 36, 36. That means what? The memory, it has been lost after the function call itself. Yes, everything is lost. Again, whenever you are calling it, okay, again, it's the same. I will be, having a memory location, sum will be initialized to 0, and we get the 36. Yes. Now the question may comes in, can we have such kind of things where, even if the function is, it does, the variable still remains in the memory itself? Yes. And that we have the concept called as, static variable, which we'll be talking about in the storage class. So I hope you have understood scope and lifetime. Okay. Now scopes are of different types, three types. One is the file. Okay. Identifier defined outside the function is known in all functions. I will tell you. Okay. Say for example, if I declare a global variable, which we have discussed, okay, right? If I put int and num and before the main function itself, the num scopes is always been available throughout the file itself. Function can be accessed inside the function, like we have seen that I and sum. Then we have a block, identifier declared inside the block. Okay, so block something is like, if you are having for loop, then we write open bracket and close bracket, that itself becomes a block, right? So let us take this particular example. Yes, and let us understand very nicely. See, int num, correct? Int num, it is global, right? So is existing, is entire scope is entered in this particular file. Yes, and his lifetime is also till the end of this particular program itself, right? And now here we have one variable num I. Yes, and this num scope is inside this main function, and his lifetime is also inside this main function itself. Now I write in num equal to 2. Okay, in num equal to 2. Again, this num is entire, scope is in this particular function itself. Okay, but again I have declared a num here, which is inside this particular block. Then this num is actually available inside this particular block. So when we come out from this particular block, this num value v3 will not going to exist. Okay, only the num value of 2 is exist, because this num 2 value is inside this particular entire function itself, and this num is entered into the global itself. Okay, right? So anywhere, if I don't mention any num here, and if I put a num, the num value of the global. Okay, right? We know whenever there is an what you say, a conflict between a global variable and local variable, always the global will come, right? Sorry, always the local will come. So the local variable will be this. Now if you understand in the scopes itself, this num itself global is entire file. Okay, then we have this void scope function, means we are having the scope in the function itself. Okay, and this is inside the block, right? So what will be the output of this particular program itself, right? So now as we have understood very clearly, this is entire lifetime will be there, but here num is having been given equal to 1. Yes, so the num inside the main function. Okay, what will be the value? Yes, now in this function, when you call this particular function itself, num is equal to 2. While num is equal to, that is true, but now we have initialized num equal to 3, then you are printing it. So whose value will come? This particular value. If as a conflict has come, always persist with this particular. Okay, right? The value that is defined, that is in the block itself, right? So now we have it is 3. Yes, then once it comes out from the block, this 3 will not ever going to exist. Now num will be equal to 2. So here the num value will be equal to 2, right? Now when the function is been finished, terminated, this num of 2 and num of 3 will be removed, and only num of 1 will be there. So now we will going to get the value of 1. Yes, so that is what the output is. So num inside the while will get 3. Okay, num inside the function you will get 2, and num inside the main is 1. Okay, so we have seen this as a file scope, we have seen this as a, what you say, as a function scope, and this which we have seen as a block scope. Okay, right? So this particular things we will going to explain when I will be talking about the storage class itself, because scope and lifetime would have a storage class static in itself. Okay, so now having said this, I hope you have understood that whenever you talk about scope and lifetime, okay, scope talks about nothing but the region or area okay, where we have the variable or function available to be used, and the lifetime is where the variable and or the function is available in the memory, right? So we have seen that example, like when a function call is completed, whatever memory it is, whatever local variable declared inside memory is lost. Even a function also is been lost, right? Right now, when we talk about, yes, when you talk about the a lifetime of a particular variable, you want to have it. Suppose in a function it is declared, but we want that after the function also terminate, it should be there. Then we are talking about the static variable, which I will be talking about in a storage class, right? So we have seen this. There are three types of scope: file, where we have seen the global, okay, then inside the function, and also in the block. So this example, typically we talked about num as a particular file scope. Then we have num here declared 2, that is inside the function scope, and num3, which is to talk about inside the block scope, right? So I hope in this particular session you are clear with scope and lifetime. Once the scope and lifetime is clear, I hope when we will be going to see my next session on storage class, your storage class will be also be clear. Thank you so much for watching my video, and do share and subscribe my videos.